Hey everybody, it's Elsie. You will likely be seeing this on Sunday morning, although I said that last week, and I might have to, I wanted to put these beautiful flowers here that I got at the farmer's market, and I might be fighting my cat the whole time to not play with them. I don't know what they are, and I didn't look them up to see if she should be eating them or not. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. That might be entertaining for you. See, there she goes right there. Okay, so, Libby, come on, don't do that. Yeah, so the last week has been a little challenging. Paul and I were hanging out a lot, and we have stepped back from that. And that was a little complicated. And now, Libby, don't eat that. Come on. Come on. Seriously. Yeah, why don't you go over there? Yeah, okay. All right. So, I don't have any bad feelings about him. And I'm still super proud of him for his sobriety challenge and all the great things that he's doing in his life. And I'm super supportive of him. So that part hasn't changed. We just kind of pulled back. Like I said, it was a little messy, which is what it is. So that's all I want to say about that. And I did see that he took down all the videos on his channel that had me in them. So that's kind of makes me feel bad because we, had a little falling out does not change all the fun that we had together. So anyway, it is what it is. And, we're both doing fine. And that's what that is. So, because you might have noticed that some of the videos were missing. So, from his channel. So, I've been doing a lot of writing for anybody who follows me on Instagram. And if you want to follow me on Instagram, my Instagram handle is crazysexylc. So, anybody can follow me over there. I post something like every day over there, and I do post a bunch of stories, the little short videos that disappear in 24 hours. So if you want to follow me over there, that's awesome. And I will follow you back if I see you follow me, if I know who you are. I don't follow everybody back, but like if your account is private, I might not follow you back unless you ask me specifically, send me a message and are like, hey, I follow you on YouTube and you can follow me back on Instagram. I'd be happy to do that. So yeah, so I've been doing a lot of writing, and I thought of Instagram because I've been doing a story about checking in every day on my writing progress. Sort of how many words I'm writing a day and what my total word count is up to. I'm trying to get to 50,000 words by the end of November. So, because I've started writing several books. Oh yeah, I made a video about this not too long ago. And I just want to finish one of them. Even if it's a shitty book, I'd rather have a shitty book finished than all these unfinished books, just to say I did it, And I don't think it'll be shitty. I think I can turn it into something really entertaining. And I might have already said once I finish the first one, I feel like I will have more confidence to finish the other ones and maybe some new ones, who knows. So that feels really exciting, to make progress on that and to see it and to know that this book in particular is a story. Some of the other ones, they're all stories, but this is kind of one long story, whereas I tend to write in essays most of the time. So if I wrote a memoir, it would probably be each chapter would be its own story. And then the next chapter would be its own story. And so So yeah, so that feels kind of exciting. I have kind of an outline that I'm following. Like I know where it started and where it needs to go and what the characters need to do and, to get to the end. I don't exactly know what the end is yet. I have a couple ideas and one of my friends gave me an idea. I'm not sure I love that one. But yeah, so, and I do have a friend who's written some books who's offered to be my accountability partner. I haven't gotten back to her yet. So I might do that. So far, I'm doing pretty good. And if you watch my Instagram stories, I don't always, so this service that I use to write, it's called Dabble. And you can put in your goal and it will tell you how many words you need to write a day to reach that goal. So I haven't exactly been meeting my word count every day, but even just, I'm not good at having daily habits because I don't really have a routine. Every day for me is kind of different. And honestly, I wake up feeling differently every day. Some days I wake up and I'm tired. Some days I wake up and I have a lot of energy. So it's hard for me to get in routines. And sometimes I have a meeting in the morning or whatever. So just being in the routine now of sitting down first thing in the morning, and that's kind of the first thing I do, which also keeps me accountable. So if I can sit there for an hour, because part of sitting there isn't always writing, it's thinking about what I need to write or how I'm going to write it or what I'm going to say and stuff like that. So, but if I can sit there for an hour every day, I feel good. And I write some words. I usually get halfway to my goal for the day. But today, it's Saturday, and I actually wrote more than the daily goal. So every day it readjusts depending on how many words you have left. So tomorrow's goal might be slightly smaller because I wrote more today. So hopefully tomorrow I can also go over the goal. So that's been really exciting. I admit that I have been not paying as much attention to the 5,000 Hugs project between having COVID and the hurricane and just this stuff that happened last week. I just have not, and the fact that it never seemed to really get momentum. I have been kind of discouraged about it, and I wonder how much energy I should spend on it, but I forget if I've told you this. I don't know what I'm out of my mind. I don't know what's going on. But I was contacted by a friend who runs a nonprofit, and she writes grants, has access to grants because she has a nonprofit, and she mentioned the possibility of collaborating with me on creating the Hugmobile, which would be my Hug headquarters, the Hug Revolution headquarters. And so there is a possibility that she could get a grant and I would, put her organization's branding on the vehicle. And when I'm at events, I could hand out literature for her. And so when she called me about this, I was like, holy crap. And I don't know all the details, who would own the van or, maintain it or what responsibilities would be whose, but just the thought of that collaboration is incredibly exciting to me and came at a time where I really needed to hear something like that. So I am still doing a little marketing of the project, but I did an event yesterday actually where I was handing out stickers, and I was also promoting her organization there because we were sharing a table. So just some exciting stuff going on, and it just reminds me that there are lots of different ways to achieve a goal, and which I've always been very creative in thinking about how to achieve my goals. I never think there's just one way. And So just having that opportunity feels great. I don't know if it's going to actually happen. It wouldn't be until like January. And, you know, she would have to write the grant and then be accepted and all of that other stuff. And I don't know what the requirements are or anything. But just the fact that she called me was really fucking cool. So, you know, I haven't even sat down and talked to her about it. We just had kind of a brief conversation where she's like, would you be interested in this? And I was like, obviously, yes, that's amazing. So anyway, so that's kind of out there. So I had made a short little video saying that I was going to be out of town this weekend. And that didn't work out. So I was supposed to go to a city like an hour and a half north of here and help my friend with an event, a weekend event that she was putting on. And it would have been a nice like weekend getaway. I would have been able to hang out with her and her husband and one of our mutual friends. It would have been really fun. So earlier or maybe it was just yesterday, 2 days ago, I don't know, my low air pressure light came on for my tires, and sometimes that's nothing, but it didn't really. Sometimes it happens when the humidity goes up or down, like the pressure, you know, the outside air pressure or the temperature or whatever. And I don't really think that had happened. And I've had terrible luck with tires this year. Oh my God. What the neighbors hired someone to redo their roof, and they left a shitload of roofing nails in the alley where I have to drive through to get to my parking space. And so I ran over like 5 of them and had to have my tires patched. One of my tires I had to have replaced, I think on another occasion. There's just like a lot of construction around here and a lot of shit in the roads. I even had to have both my bike tires replaced this year. This is a bad place for tires. So yesterday on my way to the tabling event, I quickly stopped and pumped. I couldn't even really tell which one was the one that was low. So I pumped up 2 of them very quickly, and apparently neither of those was the one. So I went to the tabling event, and I was supposed to drive right from there up. Apparently it was 2 hours. So at this point it's dark, and I stopped at another gas station, and I'm like, well, I'll pump up the other 2 tires and see, you know, hopefully that will make the light go off. Because in my car, as soon as you've got the pressure up, the light goes off. So I pumped up the front passenger, and that was fine. And then I was trying to pump up the back passenger, but I couldn't see the machine from it. And so I'm like, and it does beep when you get to the right pressure, but I felt like something wasn't going right. And so I moved my car so that I could pump up that tire and also see the machine. So I start pumping it up, and it seems to be going fine. And then like the machine gives an error or something. And I'm like, that doesn't seem right. I think there is. And I got in my car because it would only pump up to 35 PSI, and I needed it to be at 40, or I wanted it to be at 40. When it's at 40, the light's not on. So it wouldn't pump up to 40. So I was like, ah. So I decided to tell my friend that I wasn't going to come up because it was a 2-hour drive, and I just didn't want anything to happen to my tire or me. So I drove back home, and I thought about this morning trying to get someone to look at the tire, but then I'm like, it's Saturday. It's going to be a shit show anywhere I go. And I was like, I just don't want to. I don't have the energy. Like, I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to wait until like Monday or Tuesday and figure it out then. I mean, I did rub my hand around the tire to see if I could feel any nails or anything, and I couldn't. I don't know. Maybe I'll try to pump it up again. I don't know. But I just didn't want to do it today. So I didn't. So I decided not to go up there, even though it would have been a lot of fun. So, yeah, she told me they're going dancing tonight. But then I was just sitting here and I just felt very unmotivated this morning, but I remembered it's Saturday, so the farmer's market is going on, and I had to make myself have the motivation to get on my bike, which was still in my car because I was taking it with me, to get on my bike and go to the farmer's market. But I'm glad I made myself, because I really needed some veggies. So I rode down there. I usually get there at 9. I didn't get there until 10. It was kind of crowded, but it was great. I got my veggies. I got these tall flowers. I got these other flowers last week, and they were in the video that I never posted, although I might go through that video. So the interesting thing about that video was I was very thoughtful in that video, and you could tell that by the way I was talking. I made a post on Facebook that probably didn't seem as thoughtful, because you can't interpret how someone is feeling or talking when it's, typed out. So I might include just a few little tidbits that don't say too much, but just like a few things from last week. I don't know. We'll see. But I was trying to be very, very thoughtful in that video, in just expressing some feelings I had about some things. Kind of like I'm talking right now, just so yes. I did make a post on Facebook, and sometimes I just need to vent. Sometimes I am very frustrated and angry, and I probably should just write it down somewhere and burn it in a fire. But occasionally, once, possibly twice a year, I vent on social media, and then I usually delete it like the next day, because I just needed to get it out of my system. And I even try to do it in the most discreet way possible, so that it is not blatantly, blaringly apparent who I'm talking about. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like everybody does that once in a while. And so I did that, and I just don't think it came across the same way it would have if I had been saying it like this, because I would have said it in the most thoughtful way possible. So it may not have sounded as thoughtful the way I posted it on there. Anyway, but it's gone. It was gone the next day. So, that's why I didn't make a video on here, because it would have been weird to make a video and then delete it the next day, So, yes, I have not deleted any videos. There's still a video of me talking about mine and Paul's relationship, and but all my Instagram posts are all the ones I made. Like, we still hung out and had fun. Like, that's still true. So, anywho, okay. I don't even remember what I was talking about. Oh, I was going out of town, and then I didn't go out of town. So, so I'm here, and like I said, I did some great writing, and I'm just trying to, when I have feelings, I do need to get them out. And so I'm trying to get past this moment so I don't have to get out any of these feelings anymore. And just like, feel like I've said what I need to say. And believe me, most of it is in this journal, so, yeah. And I also need to just get organized. I feel disorganized. If I showed you my apartment, like, my apartment is usually very, very organized. And it was up until I started doing the 5,000 Hugs project, for which I needed to buy, like, not needed to, but I bought like tons of stickers and like swag. I bought a table to do like tabling events. I have a big sign. I now have a banner. So yeah, my apartment's really small and I need to find a way to have all this stuff here and not have it look cluttered, because I don't like clutter. I like everything to have its own place. The table is laying against my TV stand. You know, the boxes of marketing stuff is on my table and underneath my table. So I'm not super happy about that. And honestly, if the economy hadn't changed and the housing market hadn't gone kablooey, I probably would have been looking for a bigger apartment by now. But unfortunately, you know, a couple of years ago when I probably could have got double the apartment for double my rent, now it would probably cost me 3 or 4 times my rent to get a bigger apartment than this. So I am kind of feeling stuck here, which I don't like that feeling. And I'm not really, there's really nothing I can do about it right now. I'm grateful to be in this apartment. It's beautiful. It's in a beautiful place. It's in a great place. And it just feels a little small now. And I feel like I don't have options now. And that's, you know, I'm sure you guys know it's not a great feeling to know that you don't have options, but I'm grateful that my landlords have not raised my rent very much. And I feel confident they're not going to sell the building and screw us all over. So I'm just hanging in there until I decide to do something totally different. So yeah. So one of my friends posted this meme today, and it said, if I was on my deathbed and I looked back on my life, what would I regret not putting more energy into? I thought that was a great question, because it's also a very tricky question. You know, could I be just writing all day or making art all day? I mean, I could, but eventually I wouldn't be able to pay my rent unless you know, it takes a long time to write a book, edit it, blah, blah, blah. And then like the chances of it actually making enough money to live on are very slim, I think. And so being able to do what you want is a privilege, you know. I can't do everything I want, but I do work for myself and work from home, and I can work from anywhere, and that gives me a lot of flexibility. So that's great, but it is work. Like what I do is work. I have to like sit down and do it in order to get paid. You know, it's not like, I mean, even if you make widgets and it's scalable, you still have to manage the process and manage the business and all that other stuff. So, you know, if you are independently wealthy or your circumstances make it so that you don't have to pay rent or a mortgage or anything like that, I mean, there are still expenses in life. Obviously, you have to eat, there's utilities, and if you have to pay them and all that other stuff. But, you know, sometimes these sort of positivity posts are only applicable to people with certain circumstances. And I understand that. So sometimes they make me very uncomfortable because I just happen to be in a situation that has a lot of flexibility. So I know that someone else could read the same post and feel very differently about it. So I try to be sensitive to that. But because the things I wrote, like what would I regret not putting more energy into? I mean, travel. I could be traveling more. I don't know how to put more energy into that though. I mean, it involves money, right? Or resources, or knowing people, which is resources. So, yeah, I already put a lot of effort into travel. as much as I can, but yeah, I could never do enough. I shouldn't say that. I could do too much traveling. I like to have a home base and be able to go back there and regroup and stuff, but I mean, I could take a week trip every quarter. That would be 4 weeks a year. Or I could take a month, like a month of travel in the fall, in September, when I don't want to be here, which is hurricane month. A month of, if I did a month of travel in the fall, or even just a month of being up north, if I'm up north, I can bring my cat. Otherwise, I'd have to find someone to watch her for a month. That's like a long time. And take like a week or two in, you know, January or February. That's 6 weeks. That'd be 6 weeks, which is like standard for Europe, people in Europe. So I guess ideally, that's what I would do, is take 2 weeks at the beginning of the year and 4 weeks toward the end of the year of travel, which lately I haven't been doing that much. Probably, I don't know if I've ever, that's 6 weeks. I mean, and that's not even too long, you know, like, especially as someone who's creative, you can't be creative by just being at home, in my opinion. For me, creativity comes from exploring and meeting new people. I mean, especially as a writer, like especially as a nonfiction writer, but I think even as a fiction writer, like, everyone writes based on their experience. So you have to experience things to write based on your experience, right? So I just think, for me, travel, ever since I went to Europe at 29 and stayed for 2.5 months with just one backpack, you know, travel has been such an important part of my life. I mean, even domestic travel, obviously, there's so many interesting places in this country I haven't been, and that's part of what the Hugmobile is about, is going to those places and fucking hugging people there. I want to go to every place and hug everyone. So that's part of what that is for me. And yeah, so travel always has been and will be my priority, but sometimes it doesn't get, like this year, it definitely, I didn't do enough of it. I went to Mexico in January for 11 days. I should have stayed for 2 weeks, but I went for 11 days, and that's pretty much all I've done this year for travel. And there was kind of a reason for that. I didn't want to interrupt the 5,000 Hugs project by doing too much traveling, right? And then I wanted to go north for September, but then I don't know, just something about this year felt overwhelming. But now it feels overwhelming because I didn't do enough travel. So you see how that works out? Yeah. So I am going to Virginia for a week, right? A week in November for Thanksgiving to visit my niece. And then, so then in January, I'm going to Maui for 2 weeks. So I'm really excited about that. And what's interesting is, so one of the other books I plan to write, I might have mentioned it, my bicycle, if you follow me on Instagram, well, I have 5 Instagram accounts, but occasionally on my main one, I put a picture of my Brompton. It's a folding bicycle, and there is this community of Brompton owners around the world. It's kind of like a cult thing. Like, Brompton owners are very, like, you know, proud to be Brompton owners. So I was trying to find on Instagram, but I didn't, if there was anyone in Maui. And the thing is, Maui's, I think it's kind of hilly, so maybe it's not a good place to have a Brompton, because they only go up to 6 speeds, and they're best on flat surfaces. So maybe that's why I didn't find any, but I was like, if I could connect with one Brompton owner in Maui, that would be kind of cool. But I didn't find one. And anyway, so Maui's going to be, I think, just really, really cool. I'm not generally an island person. Like, going to the Bahamas doesn't, I don't know, I'm just not drawn to that. So the only island I've really been to is Bonaire. And it's not, again, it's not someplace, and it's different. It's not like a resort island like a lot of the Caribbean, is that what it's called? Caribbean islands are. So it's a bit different. It's kind of primitive there, but I'm not generally a cruise person, and they usually go to the islands. So, yeah, so going to Maui will be very different for me, being on an island, but also like a mountainous island. So it's just going to be really interesting. So after that, all right, so I posted something. What did I post? Oh, I posted something on Facebook. It basically said, I'll know I'm old when I miss my 20s, which were terrible. And so one of my friends and I said, I think I'm almost there. One of my friends who is, I don't know, he could be 70 now. I can't remember. But he said, I loved my 50s because there were so many parties. Now, I loved my 30s. My 30s were absolutely spectacular. I went from being this country bumpkin in Vermont to living this crazy glamorous life, having drinks at the Ritz and just like eating out all the time at these fancy restaurants. And I had this women's networking business, and it was super popular, and we were in the press all the time. Like, it was crazy glamorous. And I was making a ton of money on my website business. It was great. So then my 40s have been kind of a shit show because of some health issues and just like all the stuff a woman's body goes through in her 40s. So my friend said his 50s were great, and I'm like, yes, that's my plan, is that my 50s are going to be at least as fabulous as my 30s. And so one of my friends was like, yes, that should be your goal, that your 50s are amazing. And I'm like, challenge accepted. So now I've been trying to think, so I should look at these things that I said I want to put more energy into, which all of them were traveling, writing, spending time with family, and I put learning to communicate, because I've gotten a lot better at communicating, but I could still get better, and I want to do that. So I was like, I should think of the main places, and obviously plans are always flexible, but I should think of the main places, like 10 main places I would like to travel in the world, and travel to one of them for every year of my 50s. So I don't know if Maui is part of the United States, so I don't think that counts as my international travel for my, and I guess it doesn't have to be international, I'll say. So if I went to Maui for 2 weeks, maybe I could take a month in September and travel around the US. I've never been to the Grand Canyon. I don't know how that's possible. So I could take a month-long road trip, hopefully in the Hugmobile, in September. I'd have to avoid any snowy places. Some places snow in September, but I could do that the first year. Then the second year, the only reason I don't want to do this thing next year, I might change my mind. So I have a friend who, it's funny because I met him once and I thought he was kind of dreamy looking. And he just got married. Like, I found out pretty quick that we probably weren't a good match, but he just got married this year, and him and his wife, for their honeymoon, went hiking in the Dolomites, right? Dolomites, that's in Italy. I hope I'm getting that right. Yes, I'm pretty sure I am. They went hiking in the Dolomites, which is a mountain range in the north of Italy, but it's not like super crazy high mountains. It's like smaller mountains, and there's lots of paths between them and these little villages. And so he had a company map out their daily routes and I'm sure places for them to stay each night. And the photos from this trip were so amazing. I was just blown away. And what's cool is there's this app called Relive. And so he put together this little animation that showed it shows you the elevation. It's like you're looking at a 3D model of the mountains, and it showed the route they went through the whole mountains. It was so cool. So I was like, and it's near Venice too, and I've never been to Venice. So I always thought Venice was in the south of Italy, but it's in the north apparently. So I was like, I would love to get a group of friends, maybe like 5 or 6 friends, and go hiking together in the Dolomites. Like, how freaking cool would that be? Like, you would only hike for maybe a week, but then we could add in like a week in Venice or whatever. And you know, I might want to stay in Europe for a month, but just like spend 2 weeks with my friends. So that's one of the things I want to do. I almost this year, and again, I try not to get ahead of myself and do too many things at once, because then it's too tiring. I don't have as much energy as I used to, but I would like to spend a month in Istanbul. Now, Istanbul, a lot of the places I've traveled to are in Europe, and more or less, they live the way we do. But like, Istanbul is very different. Like, they have, when you're in Istanbul, several times a day, you hear a call to worship from the mosques, a call to prayer. And then all of the Muslims get down and pray. And so that's just so different. You know, that culture is so different. So I want to go some places where the culture is really different than I'm used to. Like another place, and there's some other cool small countries around it. Albania. One of my friend's husband is from Albania. And she has told me just like everyone's really friendly there, and there's just some beautiful countryside there, interesting things there. And even like, I have a friend who just went to Malaysia. She did say Malaysia is not super great for women. So there are some places I'd like to go that I would definitely want to go with people, because sometimes I do travel alone, and there are some really great things about traveling alone. You don't have to ask anyone else what they want to do, you know. And you tend to, I do at least, tend to meet people really easily, and, you know, bond with people when you're traveling, when you're alone, because when you're with someone, you don't really have to talk to anyone else, because you already have someone to talk to. So I don't mind traveling alone in places that I feel are really safe, but I've been to most of those places, and now I'd kind of like to go to some places where you might want to have somebody with you. Or also, I was just talking to a friend, like, she's gone on some tours. The only thing about tours for me is that they're much more expensive than if you just book the things yourself. So maybe there'd be 1 or 2 places where I would have to spend more to go on a tour. You know, and that might be nice. Again, I said that when I went on my silent meditation and yoga retreat, it was nice to not have any responsibility. So a tour would mean I don't have to plan anything. I don't have to plan where I stay, worry about them canceling. I don't have to, you know, only on occasion worry about where I'm going to eat or all that stuff. The only thing is that you're, you know, it's structured so you see what they take you to see. And maybe there's some wandering off a little bit, but so, you know, you kind of have to weigh the benefits and disadvantages of that. But I definitely love to travel, and I want to keep doing it. So so for my 50s, because the other thing is, and this is why I've lived the way I lived and why I don't have much retirement saved, is I want to live while I'm young. You never know when something could happen to you. I could, like, I don't know. I mean, I could obviously get hit by a bus, but I could also get some disease or injury that would be hard to recover from, and I don't know when that's going to happen. So I want to, just like this, on my deathbed, I could do it now. On my deathbed, if I was on it right now, I would go, God damn, I really lived. I really lived life on my own terms, and I saw the world, and I had amazing relationships with people, not just romantic, but, you know, friends, and I'm proud of the person that I am. So I want to keep that up, you know. I just know so many people who put off life and then never lived, and I don't want that to be me. So if I can make my 50s, you know, and I treat my body well, and I'm healthy, and but some things you can't predict, you know. So while I'm healthy, and I wasn't healthy in the first half of my 40s, wasn't necessarily my fault. It was just the effects of a lot of stressful things I had gone through, and it took me a while to unravel all that and get back to a healthy place. And so, an even healthier place, I should say. So I'm going into my 50s in a very healthy place, and I just really want to take advantage of that and make up for those 5 years that I lost of my 40s, when I should have been excelling at everything and just on top of my game, but I wasn't. So the other thing about my 40s that have been different was that after I got out of the 6-year relationship I was in, I felt a little broken, but not just because of the relationship. It was just, I had just moved a whole bunch of times. I was restarting my business from scratch. I was a little disillusioned because I got a master's degree, and then I didn't really find where I fit into that field. And I decided I wasn't really sure if I wanted to work for someone again. I mean, I could if it was the right circumstances, but I don't want too much structure in my life. I don't want anyone to micromanage me. And I need flexibility. That's how I work best. So just all of these things in my life that it was just, you know, they do that thing like, how many of these major life events have happened this year? And I'm like, 12, you know. So it was really difficult for me, and I hadn't been single in a long time, and I didn't feel the same way about being single as I had before that relationship. You know, before that relationship, I was just like get back up on the horse kind of person. But afterwards, I was like, you know, that's not really the way I want to handle this anymore. And it was hard to date anyway because I had migraines. I had chronic migraines, and you know, I would have been canceling dates all the time, and just like, so eventually I just mostly gave up, you know. But even now, when I feel a lot better, I don't feel the same way about dating. And I'm trying to be more thoughtful about it. And maybe I'm being too thoughtful about it. I don't know. You know, and yeah, and I hung out with Paul recently because there had been a gap in my dating, and it was fun to hang around him, but I don't regret that I did it. It just probably wasn't what I needed to do or should have done, but I did, and I don't regret it. But anyway, so I forget why just my 50s, I guess. I don't know. I forget why I was talking about dating. Anywho, yeah, so that's my plan for my 50s, is to make it absolutely kick-ass, like the decade of all decades. And I just think so many good things can come out of that, and especially if I get the Hugmobile and, you know, I'm using that for this force of joy and good. Yeah, I just think it'll be amazing. So, yeah, what else I got? I don't know. I have not finished reading the Tibetan Book of Living and Dying. but I'm still working on it. I've been focusing more on writing. I did meet someone recently who, I talked a bit about meditation and how I've probably never meditated. I've just sat to meditate and tried to meditate and done my own version of meditating, but he said he knows a lot about meditating, and so I'm interested to learn from him and see what I could do differently to try to be more successful. And I don't think my life is going to be incomplete if I never learn to properly meditate, or if I'm never able to meditate. I think for me, just I've used attempting to meditate, or my version of meditating, as a way to just like stay grounded in the moment and avoid or lessen my anxiety, which has worked really well. I have so much better control of my anxiety than I used to. Like, it's night and day. Like, I think that's about it. Are these flowers not gorgeous? One of my friends on Facebook, when I was feeling in a funk like last week, they're like, you should buy yourself some flowers. And I was like, that's such a great idea. I think I am gonna buy myself flowers. So again, I bought these round ones last week. There's only a few left. And then I bought these funky tall ones today. So it's a gorgeous day here in Florida. It was actually breezy and felt good this morning, which after an oppressive summer of heat, feels very good. Like, winter here is so lovely, so lovely. So I think that's about it. Yeah, that's it. I hope you all have an amazing Sunday, and I will see you next week.